Breaking news on your Friday morning. President Trump and the First Lady have tested positive for the coronavirus overnight. So we're going to get to that coming up in just a few minutes. A lot connected to it. But first, let's get to Larry with the check of the forecast, because I know when it is Friday, people are thinking weather.
And this time, we can say this weekend will be pretty close to perfect, especially like those cooler temperatures. Check it out for today. 10 a.m. we're at about 62 degrees. Around lunchtime, upper 60s. We'll be in the upper 60s, maybe near 70s. We head towards the afternoon. Those 4 a.m. tomorrow morning down to 50 degrees. Between about 4 a.m. and sunrise tomorrow morning, we'll be in the low and mid 40s. In fact, check your 7-day forecast as we take you into the weekend. Tomorrow morning, we're at 44, high near 70. In the 40s again Sunday morning, low 70s in the afternoon. And looking ahead to next week, we're not putting a drop of rain in the forecast. It's going to be some great weather. We'll be in the low 70s Monday and then back to the mid 70s Wednesday. Notice by next Thursday, back into the upper 70s. And that is your first one forecast, Carolyn.
Larry, thanks so much. And we continue to follow that breaking news. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump testing positive for coronavirus. The president tweeting the news overnight, just before 1 a.m., saying that they will begin isolating immediately. Wake Up Charlotte's Tracy Potts joining us now from D.C. with the latest.
Start with what's most important, the president's health, and of course the First Lady. The White House physician says that they are doing well at this point. But it comes at a critical time. The president in quarantine just over a month before Election Day.
I just want to say that the end of the pandemic is in sight.
President Trump's final public appearance before announcing to the world via Twitter that he and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for COVID-19, adding, "We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together."
If the president can get it, anyone can get it, and that's what's so disturbing.
The White House physician confirming that President and Mrs. Trump are feeling well and will quarantine at the White House. A senior administration official says he'll work from the White House residence. The news came shortly after we learned that Hope Hicks, one of the president's top aides, tested positive.
She has spent with the president throughout her time at the White House, not to mention in the past few days. So that will give you some sense of why the president is taking this so seriously.
Hicks was with the president at the debate in Cleveland Tuesday and in Minnesota Wednesday. That's when she began having symptoms, which means she could have been contagious earlier.
We spend a lot of time with Hope and others, so we'll see what happens.
Several White House officials, campaign staffers, and Trump family members have been in contact with Hicks in recent days. She was seen traveling on Air Force One without a mask.
This is a high-risk exposure in an enclosed environment. Everybody on that flight, 14 days quarantine, regardless of what your test shows.
Safety protocols are in place for White House staff. There's also concern about Democratic nominee Joe Biden, who stood 6 feet away from the president for an hour and a half at Tuesday's debate. The president of the United States now infected with coronavirus and unable to campaign in person for the next 2 weeks, with the election now just over a month away. President Trump was supposed to travel to Orlando today for a campaign rally. Of course, that's now been canceled. And this positive test raises questions about whether and how the next two presidential debates can happen. I'm Tracy Potts for Wake Up Charlotte.
All right, Tracy, thank you. And just within hours after the president shared this message saying that he and the First Lady had tested positive, well over 1 million people started reacting to it over on his Twitter page. And as you know, contact tracing, the rush to figure out who has been in contact with him, the First Lady, with Hope Hicks, is now all happening as I speak. Looking back at the last couple of days of what the president has been doing, he was in Minnesota on Wednesday for a rally deplaning Air Force One, to thousands of people there and fans and supporters in attendance. And then the day after that, he had a fundraising event that was in New Jersey. So we will continue to follow the very latest. Here's a list of the people that have possibly come in contact with Hope Hicks. This is coming from MSNBC. We circled Ivanka Trump because of local ties that she has, given that just yesterday she was in the Tar Heel State. Now, good news is we believe that she was wearing a mask her entire time, that she was in Gaston County, including in Belmont and Dallas. You can see in this photo here. So we will continue to follow the very latest on this. Now, a lot of people on social media are talking about Vice President Mike Pence and presumably any contact he's had with the president lately, and if he is going to get tested or if he already has been tested, what those results are. They're still not known to the public, but we will continue to follow the very latest. Carolyn, back to you.
All right, Rachel, turning to your 5 big stories of the day. Other than that is presumably the biggest story to come out of the pandemic. But North Carolina lifting more of its coronavirus restrictions today. The state moving into phase 3 of Governor Cooper's reopening plan. Large outdoor venues can now reopen at 7% capacity, which means about 5,200 fans will be at the Panthers game on Sunday. Movie theaters can open at 30% capacity. Bars can reopen their outdoor areas at 30% capacity as well. CMPD releasing more than a dozen videos showing events leading up to the death of a man in custody. We're talking about Harold Easter. The video is so hard to watch. There he is in custody, and then he died just 3 days later after suffering a seizure there in that very interview room. The video shows him yelling for help, saying, "I'm going to die." He was left alone for more than 35 minutes. 5 officers stepped down from their positions ahead of the release of that video. The timing is a little bit out of order in that, by the way. Hours after the release of that video, protesters filling uptown Charlotte demanding justice for Easter. The protests remain peaceful, people chanting Easter's name as they move throughout the city. They say his death could have been avoided if the officers who made the arrest followed the protocol and gave him the medical attention he needed. CMS changing its plan for in-person learning. Now the district is planning to have kindergarten through 5th grade students spend more time in the classroom. Students will now be coming back for 2 days a week rather than just 1. They'll also be in larger groups, which means more kids in a classroom. That plan goes into effect on November 2nd. App State postponing next week's football game after multiple positive COVID-19 tests. App State was supposed to host University of Louisiana Lafayette on Wednesday. We're told the game will now be played December 4th or 5th in Boone. That's it for your Morning Rush. More news in less time. All right, time to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense, President Trump and the First Lady testing positive, as we've told you, for COVID-19. And the news is sending stock futures dropping overnight and big time. Experts say, though, it's not all that surprising. Here's Ben Thompson.
Unexpected news almost always has a big impact on the stock market. Let's connect the dots. The market rises and falls based on how many folks are buying or selling stocks at a given time. Bottom line, no one likes uncertainty. That means any kind of big, unexpected event like the president testing positive for coronavirus causes panic. That leads investors to quickly sell stocks, causing the market to drop. Those impacts are even greater if a bunch of investors are all doing it at the same time.
And make sure you watch us each and every weekday morning starting at 4:30 a.m. on Wake Up Charlotte, and continue with WCNC Charlotte, because we'll have much more details on the president and First Lady getting COVID-19. Have a great weekend.